Awesome sauce. All right, everybody, it's Paul from Screenwriting Scribe. Today I'm with you on Real Talk for June 18th, 2024. We're going to give this a try. Normally I'm going to do these on Mondays, but unfortunately for me, last Monday was pretty busy, so I didn't get a chance to do this. So we're going to try it. We're going to see how bad I messed this up, but yeah, it's okay. I wanted to do something a little different. Sort of give you like a news program. And so I will have in the description of the live stream, I will have all the different talking points that we're going to talk about today. And so we have a bunch of different things we're going to talk about today. The first thing we're going to do is take a look at the last weekend from this last weekend. So it was June 16th, last Sunday, June 14th to the 16th, and take a look and see how the different movies did. So bear with me. We'll see if we can do this at all. Let's see here. All right. I'm going to share my screen here. All right. Entire screen, which will be this bad boy. All right. Okay. Or can I share? I can share window. Perfect. All right, so as we take a look at the different numbers for this last week, we looked at Inside Out, which is a Pixar movie. Did really well. So this is really good for Pixar. Pixar hasn't done this well in quite a while. So this is a big win for the Disney studios. You can see it grossed $154 million. You can see that Bad Boys Ride or Die came in, and they're still doing pretty good too. They're over $100 million as well too. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, that's been out for a couple of weeks now. It's been out for 6 weeks, over the 150 million mark. Garfield the movie, it's not doing too bad. If I'm really surprised that this is over $100 million. The Watchers, Furiosa, as we can see, Furiosa has just not been really doing it at all. Same with Fall Guy, $88 million. The Strangers Chapter 1, which I should really look and see how much that cost them to make, but it's definitely a disappointment. And that the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Rings, did pretty well in a re-release as well too. And I heard that Alan Ing had said that he had went with his daughter to that. If we take a look at, let's see if I can go back to. So if we take a look at just the last weekend, we can see here again Inside Out 2 and the rest of them in the top 5. The other thing, the interesting thing too that I wanted to point out was just sort of the top movies of 2024. Dune Part 2, which I really enjoyed, actually didn't do that great at the box office. It's not bad, at least domestically, $282 million. You can see worldwide, though, it made $711 million. Inside Out 2, though, is catching up fairly quick. I think people really want a good animated movie. And so I'm not surprised that it did as well as it did. All right. So perfect. The next thing that I want to talk about is the movies that are coming out for next week. So let me see if I can get that in for us. I'm going to stop that. Perfect. I'm just getting used to doing all the controls. It's the first time I ever used StreamYard, so just bear with me here as we go through all the different things here. I do have a couple news articles I want to talk about as well too, and a couple of AI stuff that we're going to talk about as well. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to, let's see here. If I can share my screen again. And window. All right, so for this week, at least coming up in the theater where I am going to be at, or I'm around. So it looks like they're going to have The Exorcist, which I know is a new one, Thelma, which is a new one, and The Bike Riders are the 3 sort of new ones that at least are coming out in my particular area. Is there any of those that excite you? For me, I'm not really that excited about The Exorcist or The Exorcism. A troubled actor begins to unravel troubled actor begins to unravel while shooting a supernatural horror film, leading to his estranged daughter to wonder if he's slipping back into his past addictions or if there's something more sinister at play. Dun, dun, dun. It doesn't really do anything for me. The exorcism movies I haven't really been a big fan of. Thelma's another one that's coming out. Deceived by a phone scammer pretending to be her grandson, a 90-year-old woman sets out on a quest to reclaim what was taken from her. That sounds like an interesting one. Maybe I might do that one. I'm more interested in this particular one, the bike riders. So after a chance encounter at a local bar, strong-willed Kathy is intrinsically drawn to Benny, the newest member of the Midwestern Motorcycle Club, the Vandals, led by the enigmatic Johnny. Much like the country around it, the club begins to evolve, transforming from a gothic place for local outsiders into a dangerous underworld of violence, forcing Benny to choose between Kathy and his loyalty to the club. So those are the new ones, at least coming out to my particular theater. I tried just going on Fandango and looking at them and seeing which ones are coming around the country, but there's just so many. And so I just picked these particular three because they're coming to a local theater next to me. All right, let me get back to. So what do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments section below, which of those movies are you sort of looking forward to or you're not looking forward to? So yeah, let me know what you're thinking. I haven't been to a lot of movies this summer yet. There hasn't been anything that I've been really wanting to watch. I mean, I think probably the next one that I really want to go see is Deadpool versus Wolverine. But as you can, the nice thing as a screenwriter, the reason why we look at these particular things, like how much the gross market makes, or how much the movies make in the gross market, and what is coming out, is because we can begin to feel like, okay, so what are we going to create? What are those things that we want to write? And so if you can sort of see what audiences, audiences really like this kids movie about In and Out. Or if you see that they like a particular type of horror movie, well, what about it? What about the writing was something that was catching to them? What caught their attention? What got them to think, hey, this looks really cool, and that type of stuff. So I think that's an important thing to think about and to look at as a screenwriter, to look at the trends. Now the thing to note, though, is these are the trends that are happening now. But you can take the lessons from that, because it's going to take, so let's say you write your screenplay right now, it's going to take 2 to 3 to 4 years in order to get into the movie theater. But if you're doing something that is more quicker, like maybe you're doing a web series, or you're doing something with AI or something along those lines, where you can get something out faster, then you can sort of build off these trends and say, okay, I can see that a detective movie is working really good, so I'm going to create a detective movie and get that out for folks to look at. So that's something to just to know and stuff like that. So let's see. Let's take a look at some of the news that we have for this week in terms of screenwriting. So again, I'm going to give me a moment to find the first article that I want to look at here. All right. And I don't know if some of you saw this or not. Let's see, let's share our screen here. There we go. Okay, so the big one of the big headlines this week is, why did Sony buy Alamo Drafthouse, and is it actually a good place? So in the town that I live in, we actually do have an Alamo Drafthouse, and so let's talk a little bit about this particular article. And we're going to read through this article and talk a little bit about why this is a good thing, or maybe why this is not a good thing. So despite the historical importance of the Paramount decrees, which for decades governed the way movie theaters did business with theaters, few people understand them, including those who work in Tinseltown. All this came up again last week when Sony Pictures announced that it had acquired Alamo Drafthouse Cinemas, the quirky Austin, Texas-based chain that operates 35 locations, including one in Los Angeles. Now, in 1948, the Supreme Court made the consequential decision to break up the studio's system's old vertical integrated oligarchy, man, that's a big word, in which a handful of big companies not only controlled the production and distribution of movies, but also had a huge hand in exhibitioning by owning their own theater chains. So the landmark antitrust case altered the structure and trajectory of the entertainment industry, marking a pivotal moment during Hollywood's golden age. The result was a series of settlements between the companies and the government that forced studios to divest their theater assets and blocked other anti-competitive practices. So basically what this did back in the day was it caused the theaters to know, like, hey, they would have they'd own their own theaters, and so what type of movies would they show? Well, their own, right? They would stop competition. They would mainly show their own theater. So if you had a town that only had a Paramount theater, or a theater, or one that had only a Warner Brothers theater, then you would see that you would only see the movies that they want you to see, and so that's why this is such a big deal. And so, but right now, where we're at in history right now, you're noticing that there's a lot of theaters that are going under right now. There's a lot less theaters for sort of distribution for these Hollywood studios to have. And so now we're sort of seeing a resurgence of that, in that Sony went ahead and bought Alamo Theaters. And so the question is, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Let's see. So it's not necessarily that the movie theaters couldn't own the theaters. The question, given the state of the business, is why would they want to? Because as we know, that theaters are down. And like I said, the next paragraph sort of talks about that. The box office in the United States and Canada is still down 24% so far this year compared with 2023. The theater staying in business means negotiating with landlords and creditors while waiting for blockbusters, which are few and far between. Thank goodness for Inside Out right now, too, which is actually a blockbuster that I think a lot of theaters needed. So the interesting thing, so why did Sony buy Alamo Drafthouse? The craft beer pouring Alamo is well known among cinephiles for its special event screenings of older movies, its strict anti-texting policy enforcement, and for help to pioneer the now ubiquitous dine and drink in theater concepts. So the Sony acquisition has gotten a fair amount of attention, especially on film Twitter. It is basically a lifeline for Alamo and its fans. The company, like other theater owners, suffered badly in the wake of COVID-19. I remember when during COVID-19, it was really exciting to watch a film at home, and I think people are sort of staying at home for that. So it's going to be interesting to see what actually happens because of this deal, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. But it's interesting that Sony has sort of waded into this and said, hey, we're going to keep this theater afloat. It's going to be interesting to see if Alamo is going to be sort of an exclusive center for Sony films. So time to see, and time to see what happens from this. It'll be interesting to see a little while from now what happened. So those are some of the big news stories for this week in terms of film in general. So we went over the box offices. We talked about the coming attractions. Sort of talked about the big news in terms of studios, and in that Sony bought the Alamo Theater. The next thing that we're going to talk about is one of the things that has, I don't know if you haven't been watching YouTube for a while or any type of social media, you probably, if you've been doing that, you've probably seen all the backlash against the Acolyte. Star Wars Acolyte has been a disaster for Disney. It's got some of the lowest numbers that any Star Wars series has ever had. It's I think there's more people who watch the coverage about how bad the Acolyte is versus how many people actually have watched the Acolyte. I think they said this is the lowest number since Ahsoka, and they launched Ahsoka about the same amount of time that for the same amount of episodes that they did for the Acolyte. So the interesting thing about this, so if we think of it in terms of screenwriting, I can talk to you about how bad this is and stuff like that. I think I'm going to end real quick. I'll be right back.